Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome to our coffee times together. Today it is the first time that I am recording a video after I changed my channel's name. I hope that you guys are still able to find me. I hope that you enjoy the new banner and the new name. I just felt like it hit a little bit more home. I've always been a fan of Alice in Wonderland. It's always been one of my favorite classics. It's always been one of my favorite Disney movies, even though she was never really considered a princess, and I think that is why I kind of liked her more. So I kind of always base my channels around Wonderland, but I am aware that I love horror so much and I think like the way this channel is going, it was just the right decision to make, to change it into something that it was more fitting for the type of content that I am putting up and that I will be putting up for you guys, because it is mostly based on horror, even though I read a lot of different genres. So that being said, today I am here to talk to you about all of the books that I read in the month of August.
It's coffee time!
So August was supposed to be a month where I was going to read more. But the week that I took off holidays, I did not touch a book. Which, you know, it can be also a good thing because my brain had a break from everything. I did not really log into social media. I didn't read. I just, you know, enjoyed life. I went out with my boyfriend. And I think sometimes it's good to recharge. So in the month of August, I still was able to read a total of 11 things in 3 weeks. So I am really happy about that. And I'm here to give you all the tea. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please consider subscribing if you love horror and books, and also click on the notification bell so you don't miss any more coffee times. And as always in this channel, we like to rate our books with coffee mugs, and I always start from the lowest to the highest rating. The first one, and sadly with only one coffee mug, is Rain Will Come by Thomas Holgate. This was a thriller that was released in 2020 and I was excited to check it out, but unfortunately this was a very disappointing read. This was supposed to be like, you know, your typical mouse and cat chase between a detective and a serial killer. It is an overused theme, but done right is something that I still really enjoy. The things that I like about this was that the killings were very gory and that we are following a serial killer that has basically nothing to lose, and he is just going on a rampage, kind of killing people and leaving kind of trails for the detective to follow, and that is about it. Unfortunately, the book was really slow paced and there were many descriptions and things, you know, like just a lot of stuff in the book that was not really necessary for the story, for the characters, and was just making it boring for me and kind of, you know, you just want to stop reading, honestly. There's also an issue with transphobia in the book that really rubbed me the wrong way, and so trigger warning for that. And also basically the only main female character that we get in the book is like bland. She is weak, she depends on men. I don't know, like everything just rubbed me the wrong way, honestly, except the murders. That's the only part that I liked about this book. There were also not like big twists. There was not like a big finale. I don't know, this was just all in all a big disappointment, and honestly I would not recommend you to pick it up. But we are all completely different types of readers, but you know, especially disclaimer for the transphobia because it might trigger some people. Next I have White is for Witching by Helen Oyeyemi, and I gave this one only 2 coffee mugs, and I strongly believe that it's only because it was just not for me. I do not think this is a bad book at all. I just think it was not for me. It was really confusing to me. This is a book in which we have a family. The mother has passed away. The daughter has a condition called pica, which means she eats non-food items, and the father moves with the kids to a house, you know, trying to kind of start new, and the story is being told from different perspectives, different point of views, and for me it was really messy. I couldn't really follow up with the story. I was confused half of the time, and it is a ghost story. It's kind of like a gothic ghost story in this house with this family, so that's why I was so excited to pick it up. But it was just not for me. I think it was the writing style, the different point of views, making it confusing for me. But I still recommend people to give this one a try, because I believe it's one of those that it was just not for me, but it doesn't mean that other people are not gonna enjoy it. Let's move to the 3 Coffee Mag ratings. The first one, it is As an Old Memory by Vic Carey, and for this one I have to give big disclaimers for homophobia. They use the N-word and they use the word colored. So just for you to know before you go into it, I just wanted to put the information out there for people that do not want to read books that have this type of wording in them. Also, I know the author is a white male. In the book, they are trying to depict, you know, racism as something bad, and they are kind of condemning the crimes against Black people, but there are these words in the book, so it might not be for everybody. So I just thought, you know, it was safer just to give you all the full disclaimer here. The book is kind of like a ghost story with also some witchy parts. So the story is following 2 different timelines. The first timeline is in 1956, where there was a massacre in high school, and there was only one survivor, Charlotte McAdams, and since then her family has been under a curse, and every 40 years something gruesome happens. So we are now in the present, and the 40-year anniversary of these deaths is coming up again, and a lot of weird things start to happen, accidents, people getting hurt. So I really appreciated the story for what it was trying to be when it comes to like a ghost story. I also liked the pacing of the book. It was fast-paced, it was well written, it was creepy at times, but I decided to give it only 3 coffee mugs because there was a couple of things in the book that I was a little bit unsure about, like these words that were used and all of that. I still wanted to read the book. I have to be honest, when I was 20% into the book and I started seeing all of the N-words and stuff like that, I was like, should I just DNF this? But I decided just to finish it so that I would get the full picture. But yeah, I just wanted to give you a big disclaimer on that, in case that that's something for you that you say, I don't want to pick up this book, because I completely understand. Next, with 3 coffee mugs, also we have Out of Body by Jeffrey Ford. This is a novella. I really enjoyed it, except the ending was a bit disappointing for me. We are following this guy that every day follows the same routine. He always gets coffee at the same place, always wakes up at the same time. So one day he goes to the deli where he always gets his morning coffee, and there is a robbery. And after the events of that day, he starts to have these weird dreams and realizes that actually he's having kind of like an out-of-body experience. And while he is in these kind of out-of-body moments, he starts to investigate the neighbors and try to figure out things about the neighbors. So it was a really interesting concept, and it was a fast-paced story, and I really enjoyed it. I think I was just waiting for kind of like a bigger finale. I mean, it was not bad or anything, but it left me kind of wanting more. The next one is Who's There by Dimas Rio. This is a collection of 5 short stories. They are inspired in Indonesian folklore, so they were very different from your typical horror stories. The longest one was my favorite one. I did talk about, you know, the different stories and what they were about on my Evil-a-thon vlogs, so if you want to know more about that, you can check them out. So if you're looking for completely different types of stories, I would definitely recommend you to pick this one up. Some of them didn't feel like 100% horror, but I always loved the concept, the idea, the kind of message that they were trying to bring. With 3.5 coffee mugs, we have When the Sky Goes Dark by Oliver C. Seneca. This book I really enjoyed because it was a very different take on the apocalypse and kind of like end of the world scenario. So we have a world in which suddenly one day people start to become really violent. They seem to be like getting irritated for nearly no reason and get violent with each other. and we are following our main character Jonathan. He is at college when this starts, and his main mission is to make it back home to see his parents, to see if they're okay. And he's trying to survive through this kind of apocalypse. The book was really fast-paced. It had short chapters, so you know it's something that you kind of read quickly. It kind of read, you know, like if you would do like a marathon of the Walking Dead episodes in a way. Things that I really appreciated was that the author kind of avoided using all of these super overused tropes for zombie or apocalypse books, and was trying to bring something new to the table. That is really refreshing. Also, I really enjoy that towards the end they do explain where the virus is coming from, how this all kind of started, and it makes so much sense. Like, it's actually something that could happen anytime nowadays. You know, the real evil is closer than you think. One of the things I would have wished to have more from is more characters, because basically you're following Jonathan the whole book, so you only have like one character that is being really developed, even though you get to see other characters throughout the book. He was the only main character that you really got to know. The only other thing that I would have liked from the book is to feel more fear and tension. Like, I didn't felt like our main character was really in danger much, you know, and I think that feeling was kind of missing for me, to feel that something was really putting him in a dangerous position, like this kind of tension. Let's move to the books that got 4 coffee mugs. So the first one is a point horror one, and that is Amnesia. So in this story, which felt more like a thriller, but a very fast-paced, really interesting thriller, it is about a girl that wakes up at a hospital one day. She doesn't know what happened to her. She doesn't recognize her face. She doesn't know what's her name, where she comes from. But this weird hospital and the nurses are telling her not to worry because her sister is coming to pick her up and take her home. And when the sister shows up, she still doesn't remember anything, doesn't remember the sister, doesn't remember her home. So it's kind of like a book that once you start reading it, you kind of see things coming and all, but it was still very enjoyable. Now let's talk about the festering ones. These has been one of my favorite things that I have read this year. I gave it 4 coffee mugs because I just wanted more. I think this story was pressed together in a novella but deserved so many more pages. It has everything that you can wish for. It has an old evil cult, it has a disappearance, it has an investigation, it has a creature feature. It's like everything in one. Like, this was fantastic. It was such a ride. So we're following a girl that after she loses her mom, she goes hunting with her dad, and it's not like she particularly likes hunting, but she just wants to bond with her dad. So while they're out in the woods, her dad is being taken by a creature that looks like a woman with spider legs for arms. And after her dad disappears, nobody believes her, but then she starts to investigate, and she starts to kind of put things together, starts a big investigation. She travels somewhere else following up her lead, and it just becomes such an amazing treat of a book. And the last part of the book kind of reminded me to like Silent Hill or something like that, and I was like, give me more. So I kind of am sad that this is such a short story. I would have loved to see this developed in a bigger book. Moving on with A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. I finally got to this book. I've been meaning to get to it for ages, and I really enjoyed it, but I have to tell you, this is a very slow-paced book. It is not really uneventful, but not too much happens, so it's not like your typical, you know, a fast pace, a lot of action kind of exorcism story. This is more kind of describing a family that has had to go through a lot and how they dealt with the situation. So we're following a family whose 14-year-old daughter started to behave just not like herself, really weird, and the parents start to think that there's something wrong with her. They take her to therapy. The father wants to go to the church to talk to a priest because he starts to believe that she's possessed, and it kind of explores the family dynamics, and I really love that the story is being told from the younger sister's perspective. and how she saw the events that happened, what she thought of the things that were happening around her. And I don't know, I really enjoyed it because it was just a wonderful family story with kind of like a possession story, but I think it's only for people that are ready just to sit down, relax, and just have a nice slow-paced story told to them. Moving on with another book that I had been meaning to read for the longest time now, I think 2 years now, and that is A Map of Days by Ransom Riggs. I finally read the book. So in this book, what I loved about it is that we are following our peculiars, and in this one we are in the real world in the United States of America. We are no longer in this magical world from the peculiar children, so the kids have to adapt to something new. How do normal people behave, what kind of clothes they wear, all of that stuff. That was super funny and interesting, and I wish that we would have got more of that. I felt the beginning of the book was really slow paced as well, but this is the fourth book that is coming after a trilogy that ended with so many things going on that I think the author just wanted to give us a breather and give time for us to get into this new story that we're going to experience with the peculiars. So I think he's kind of building it up. The fifth book is already out, so I need to get that one so that I can keep reading the stories. That's all I'm gonna tell you, because you know, this is the fourth book, like I said, so I don't want to spoil anything to anybody. That's why I'm also not mentioning names of peculiars or anything. I just want people not to be spoiled. But I really did enjoy it because, as always, I really like the writing from Ransom Riggs, and I love the pictures that we get to see inside of these books. But I know that these series of books are not for everybody, but if you love the first trilogy and you were unsure if you wanted to move on with the fourth book, I do recommend you to pick it up. And the last book that I would like to mention is a book that got 5 coffee mugs from me, and that is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. After giving 5 coffee mugs to the Poet X, I knew that I wanted to keep reading her books. I still have not read With a Fire on High, but I saw Clap When You Land for sale and I decided to pick it up because I just love the author's writing, and this one was even more perfect, if that is even possible, than the Poet X for me. This book was from cover to cover perfection. It was so wonderfully written. It was so heartbreaking, but at the same time heartwarming, and it is a story that deals with grief, with loss, who's your family, and how do you move on after you have lost somebody that you love. The plot follows 2 families who lose somebody that they really loved in a plane crash, and they could not be more different from each other. There is a family that is living in the Dominican Republic, and the other family lives in the United States. So we have a really poor family, a more kind of wealthy family, and their paths kind of cross because they both lost somebody in this plane accident, and it's just so wonderful. Like, please pick it up. It is perfection. I absolutely love this book. It's one of those books that it really pushed me to the verge of tears, and that doesn't happen too often. So yeah, just pick it up. Alright you guys, so that is everything that I read in the month of August. Let me know down below what you thought about the books that I have read, if you have read them yourself. And as always, let me know what is the best book that you have read in the month of August. Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks so much for watching you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up. It really does support the channel and gives it visibility. And if you want to follow me on other social media, please check the links down below in the description so we can connect also in other websites like Twitter. I'm fairly active there as well. So thanks so much for watching you guys, and I'll see you all in the next coffee time. Bye.